Prasanthi Mataji, when are you ready? You can start, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Shri Prabhupada and Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtake. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone, from text 25 to 36. Text 25. Because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Controller, the Supersoul of all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus, he has no enemy and no friend. When he chastises the demons, it is for their good, and when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is for their good. He is affected neither by prayers nor by blasphemy. Text 26. Therefore, by enmity or by devotional service, by fear, by affection, or by lusty desires, by all of these or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same for the Lord. Because of his blissful position, is never affected by enmity or friendship. Text 27. Narada Muni continued, by devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity towards him. This is my opinion. Text 28 to 29. A grass worm confined in a hole of a wall by a bee always thinks of the bee in fear and enmity and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Similarly, if the conditioned souls somehow or other think of Krishna, who is Sachidananda Vigraha, they will become free from their sins. Whether thinking of him as their worshipable Lord or an enemy, because of constantly thinking of him, they will regain their spiritual bodies. Text 30. Many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna with great attention and giving up sinful activities. This great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon him. Text 31. My dear King Yudhishthira, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupala and other kings by envy, and Yadus by their familial relationship with Krishna, you, Pandavas, by your great affection for Krishna, and we are the general devotees by our devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. Text 32. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return back home, back to Godhead. If he is like King Veena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Text 33. Narada Muni continued, O best of the Pandavas, your 2 cousins Sishupala and Dantavaktra, the sons of your maternal aunt, were formerly associates of Lord Vishnu, but because they were cursed by Brahmanas, they fell from Vaikuntha to this material world. Text 34. Maharaja Yudhishthira inquired, What kind of great curse could affect even liberated Vishnu Bhaktas? And what sort of person could curse even the Lord's associates? For unflinching devotees of the Lord, to fall again to this material world is impossible. I cannot believe this. Text 35. The bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual, having nothing to do with the material body, senses, or life there. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of the personality of Godhead were cursed to descend in material bodies like ordinary persons. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prashantamati. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Sundaracala Prabhu, when are you ready? You can start, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prashanti Mataji, for reading today's translations. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Good morning, everyone. So we'll be discussing today chapter 7.1, Canto 7, first chapter, The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. So I'll start with brief prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So with the permission of Sundaran Prabhuji, I'm going to start uh, explaining about the summary from verse number 25 to verse number 36 today. So, so King Parikshit has inquired, right, in this verse, in 25th verse, the prelude for this is the text one, where Parikshit inquired. So Vishnu is being everyone's well-wisher, is equal and equal to everyone. He's not partial like a common man. How come is that he always sided with Indra and killed he killed Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and he even make that happen. He sided basically with Indra. How is that he's equal to everyone, could be partial to Indra? So because whole six canto, lot of chapters were detailing about how Lord offered protection to Indra. So and then the conversation, in order to clarify this, Sukadeva Goswami quotes conversation between Narada Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj, which happened right after the Rajashwa Yagya. And in that conversation, Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu episode this is a foundation for that story to begin, for the pastime to begin. So the whole question is Lord actually partial? And on another context where also this question seems to be very redundant. It looks like Yudhishthir Maharaj already know it. How can Yudhishthir Maharaj not know it? How can uh, Parikshit Maharaj not know this? Because Yudhishthir Maharaj asked this question to Narada Muni after the Rajashri Yagya. And same question was asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami, and both of them are eternal associates and pure devotees. How come is that? So, for which explanation is given by Romapada Swami Maharaj, and in one of his classes, where he said, in context of Vidura talking to Maitreya, does Vidura does not know the answer about the question? He's a pure devotee of the Lord. Why is he asking this question to Maitreya? So he brought out this beautiful point, Rompa Swami, that even though one may know the answer to a particular question, you may ask more elevated devotee and he may give exact same answer. So it may come from his mouth, but you see that the depth of his realization from the way he speaks. And I'm sure most of us might have already experienced it. And this is the reason why the question is asked again. So coming to the um, So another, I'll probably also cover a little bit of brief summary. Um, so Lord actually creates the gunas through his external energy, and the external energy doesn't belong to the Swarupa, but uh, and also Lord, um, therefore, here Parikshit Maharaj is not asking the question to doubt the influence of the Lord. And then he says, actually, when there is a time for sattva to become prominent, then Lord favors devatas and sages. This is explanation given by Sukadeva Goswami as an answer. When sattva becomes prominent, devotees, that is, devatas get powerful. And when the rajas becomes prominent, then asuras become demons become powerful. So, so that proves, and when tamas become prominent, yakshas and rakshasas become powerful. There were incidents where devatas have lost battle against demons. So that proves that Lord is not partial. So Lord empowers sattva in as much as he empowers rajas and tamas. As an answer, this is what the explanation is given by Sukadeva Goswami. And the Lord exists equally as Paramatma in everything, but he is not perceived. This is another subtle explanation he gives, where Lord exists equally as Paramatma in everything, that he is not perceived. But wise people perceive him through inference, through anuman, through logical through their, shabda, through the scriptures. These intelligent people will understand the Lord is not partial. How? By referring to Shabda, which is scriptures, by referring to Anuman, right, with logical understanding, and Prachaksha, by witnessing it through set of events. So one can uh, take help of these three things, especially the wise people, and they can understand that Lord is not partial. And even though it seems like a particular time when Sattva to be prominent, their Lord empowers devatas. Uh, it, it's not that Lord is subservient to the time. It may appear that explanation given by Sukadev Goswami that uh, Lord actually goes by the time cycle. When it is time that Sattva Guna need to be prominent, Lord actually follows it and makes sure that devatas get stronger. So that doesn't really imply that Lord is subservient to the Sattva Guna. Sorry, to the time, the Kala. And after that, in order to establish a non-partial position of Supreme Lord, uh, he starts sharing this episode with discussion between Narada Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Shishupal is so envious, but still he managed to attain liberation, right? And how is that? I would like to know the science, because Veena, this is summary where Veena, who is critical of Krishna also, but he went to hell. How come Shishupal is attaining liberation? So, um, in fact, Vena became envious right in the later phases of life. But Shishupal and Dantavakra, they were actually um, hating Lord right from the age where they were from the childhood, since the birth. So they started, the question is, and also, how come they are not inflicted with such kind of a um, blasphemy done to Krishna? How come these two brothers, sorry, especially Shishupal, is not attacked by the leprosy? How is that he's not punished? How did he not go to hell? Then this is interesting and intriguing to me. This is what is Yudhishthira Maharaj explains his concern about his confusion, hearing this explanation given by Sukadeva Goswami. Sorry, explanation given by Narada Muni. So the incidents happened with, at the Rajashiva sacrifice, where Shishupal has entered the body of Krishna. So seeing that, Yudhishthir get confused and ask this for the clarification. So perception of um, Basically, here the partiality or inclination towards someone takes birth from bodily identification, which doesn't exist in Lord. Because that partiality, right, is going to push a person to act. So, you know, because the bodily identification is going to push a person to act partially. But bodily identification doesn't exist in Supreme Lord, right? Therefore, he has no perception of violence and no perception of punishment. Then why he acted partially is the logical explanation we are going to see through the rest of the verses in this chapter. Um, and Someone may say, what is wrong with criticizing? Here, when it is mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami that Lord is not affected, then someone might say, what is wrong? I'm actually covering this point so that we also understand from the points of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation on what is the false explanation that people come up with, when they hear this pastime. And he addresses how those false explanations are wrong logically. So here it is mentioned one question where what is wrong with criticizing Lord, since he does not, this criticism or glorification doesn't affect him anyways. What is wrong? So there is a favorable criticism and there is unfavorable criticism. Favorable criticism is done by someone who is a devotee like a gopis, where they criticize Lord Krishna. Unfavorable criticism is also of two types, where mm, someone criticizing the absorption of Lord, for example, Shishupal. Another type of criticizers where that arises from um, does not arise from the absorption from the Lord, but they are very critical to the Lord, like for in the case of Vena. So these are the another couple of reasons why the destinations of both of them are different, Shishupals and Venas. And Jaya and Vijaya already knew that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. They purposely attained position of enemy to get off the material life. This is another comment given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his purports. And therefore, Shishupal and Dantavakra acted so uh, because purposefully they have chosen to do so, to be envious to Lord. So there is another question that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur puts in, where continuous enmity of the Lord, one should not say by seeing the point saying continuous enmity of the Lord after producing genuine attraction for the Lord will not produce hell. That means one who has been having attraction of the Lord, genuine attraction of the Lord, and they chose to be continuous, be envious of the Lord. Hearing this, let's say, can they do that? Will it not produce hell? They should not technically produce the hell, right? Based on your explanation, that's what people might ask a question. So for that, the genuine attraction does not actually occur in Shishupal. That means Shishupal, in the entire life of since birth, he never had a genuine attraction for Krishna, but he had a complete absorption of envy in Krishna. So this is incorrect to to actually think that one can switch sides, the mood of worship of the Lord, from being attracted to the Lord to envious of the Lord. So that is an understanding. So one may also say Shishupal's case is different because uh, he had developed continuous enmity, therefore he attained liberation. So it's a little confusing. It's longer explanation. Maybe I'll skip this topic. So one should not say that there is a arrangement made for persons other than Shishupal. One cannot find actions directed with enmity and Lord in all the rules of scriptures. That means we cannot simply apply saying, oh, I can be envious to the Lord and still can be attain Krishna. So let me see all the scriptures from that perception. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, no, we should not do that. So If I want to get liberation but maintain this enmity, then what kind of enmity is necessary? One might ask this question. He says, Anubandha, Anubandhena. Continuous enmity should be there. Continuous enmity should be there. Otherwise, we will end up in hell. It's very dangerous to take up the position of envious worship to the Lord Krishna. That is very dangerous position, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. And one should not, one should, as per Srila Prabhupada's purport, one should do anukulyena Krishna Anushilana, not patikulyena. We have to favorably worship Lord Krishna. That is the injunction. The text 27 is very famous verse, which is quoted often by a lot of Maharajas uh, in the classes. Yatha vairanu Matchastan Matchamiyat. Actually, previous verse, not this one. The previous verse, which actually states, um, Tasmad Vairanu Nirvairena Bhayena va Snehat Kamena va Injat Kathanchin Nekshate Pruthak. So, by constant enmity, Tasmad Vairanu anyone who approaches the Lord, he attains success. This is the context of this verse. Anyone who approaches the Lord, he attains success. And what are the moods? Tasmad Vairanu by constant enmity, Nirvairena Bhayenava, favorable relationship without enmity, and then Bhayena, which is out of fear, uh, is, and which in the case of Kamsa, Snehat Kamena Vayujat. So Kamsa, the demon Kamsa, actually is constantly feared Krishna in his life, but still he attained Sayujya Mukti. That's because he is connected with Krishna somehow or the other. That is the context. Bhayena. Snehat. So out of affection, Kamena Vayunjat, or conjugal feelings arising from the strong spiritual affection, like in the case of gopis. Katanchin Nekshate Prutak. That means somehow or the other, one should concentrate on Lord only. That is the injunction given by Sukadeva Goswami as an answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question. And Nekshate Prutak, for the Lord is in blissful position, is never affected by enemy or friendship. So one must take your shelter under such Lord who is equal to everyone. So now question to us is why he is using word tasmat. So therefore Lord is not impartial. So because anyone who is going to Lord with these moods, none of them are a failure, right? That means Lord is not is not partial. So Lord is partial, not partial, but rather Lord is impartial. This is how Sukadeva Goswami chose to answer Parikshit's. That's why he used Tasmad in this verse. And the problem in criticizing, one could ask, okay, if Krishna is not affected, I brought up this point, right? Where people might say, if Krishna is not affected by criticism, what is wrong in criticizing? What is wrong in criticizing devotees if they are not affected by glorification? So here it is mentioned, problem is criticizer will generate bad karma for himself. That is the problem. So verse number 27 talks about Narada Muni continued, by devotional service, one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can achieve enmity toward him. This is my opinion. Here again. So here Narada kind of implying, oh, Shishupal is better than me. Why Narada is saying it? Out of humility. Basically, absorption of Shishupal in envious feeling is better than weak absorption of a sadhana bhakti in the sadhana stage. That is what Narada Muni is saying here. Not that bhakti is done in the favorable mood is weaker than bhakti done in envious mood. That is not what not Narada Buddhi is implying. Also, it is implying his humility of his, because he is a devotee is naturally humble. So here, um, here bhakti, assuming that Shishupal and others have hellish end, even though their envical attitude is criticized on the path of bhava, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it's praised more than purifying power of bhakti in one aspect, only in one aspect. What aspect is that? Its power to produce quick absorption in the Lord. And that is not possible for everyone. So this is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. And the hint is, uh, Raganuga is also better than Vaidhi Bhakti. That's what he is also indirectly indicating. So one must not, uh, you know, one must not simply practice regulative principles just for the sake of practicing, but one must also try to achieve the Raganuga Bhakti at some phase. That being the, it could be multiple lifetimes, but that is the, we have to understand that Raganuga is better than Vaidhi Bhakti. And that is the hint given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his purports. If and So here it is recommended that one must excel Vaidhi Bhakti to the level of um, at you know Raga Anuga Bhakti by following the footsteps of Acharyas and desiring one of the relations like parental and so on, so bhavas with Krishna. So couple of examples that you can see here. He is implying, Narada Muni is implying Shishupal is better than me. We see such similar such moods exhibited by in scriptures. For example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also thinks himself is even worse than lower than Jaga and Madhai, even lower than worms in the stool. A pure devotee always thinks himself more deficient than everyone else. If a devotee approach, similarly, there is another instance where you can recollect where Srimati Radharani, when devotee approaches Srimati Radharani to offer some service to Krishna, even Srimati Radharani thinks that the devotee is greater than herself. So these are the two examples given by Prabhupada in the purport. So Narada Muni is giving example to Yudhishthira Maharaj in 28th to 29th verse. So a worm, kudyam, ruddha, when confined in a hole in a wall, it's like a big, here, when a wasp, actually this is actually not a bee, where in this example where a grass worm is confined in a hole in a wall, where a bee always thinks of a bee, and a fear and enmity later becomes, because of the absorption in the wasp, later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. This is a real world example that Sukadeva Goswami, is quoted here in 28 to 29, right, in the conversation between Yudhishthira and Narada Muni. So the worm here is basically a type of bee which actually catches a worm and stores it in its hive and seals it with mud so that it can eat it later. So that's the context actually. So it is in such Kita is in a constant fear of the wasp, uh, and it will, oh, when will that guy come back and eat me up? So he's in constant fear, and in that constant fear he meditates, and in complete absorption he at once gradually becomes, uh, he actually takes he himself becomes a wasp, bee, one type of a bee. And this is the explanation. He says that, oh, even in ordinary life you can see that a wasp catches this worm and confines him to that hole. The worm becomes terrified, and then um, Sambramba Bhaya Yogena, in the fear, is actually becoming a wasp. Similarly, if a condition sold out of enmity or a fear, this is the explanation. If a condition sold also, if out of fear continuously thinks of Krishna, who is merciful even to sinful, by that power of absorption, he becomes free of the sin of thinking critically about Krishna. Criticizing of Krishna comes with bad karma. That bad karma itself is destroyed because of the complete absorption in such criticism. And they attain Supreme Lord. This is the explanation given uh, with this example of worm being caught by the wasp. And in the next verse, text number 30, Lord is Lord is merciful to men even if they hate him also. That is the nature of Supreme Lord. Those who are purified in sin of criticizing Lord, they attain Sarupya by meditation arising from the enmity. Avesha tad agam hitva Bhagavan tad gatim gataha. Purified of such criticism of Lord because of the absorption in Lord, they attain Sarupya by meditation arising from enmity. That is the case with Shishupal. And next verse, many and many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna, which great with great attention and giving up sinful activities. And this great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon him. So this is explanation basically. And my dear King Yudhishthira, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by their fear, Shishupala and other kings by their envy, Yadus by their familial relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your affection for Krishna, and we, myself Narada, and general devotees by our devotional service to Krishna, because Narada himself is a sadhana siddha, and he practiced devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. These are the categories of people in different moods of approaching Krishna. We all obtain mercy of Krishna. That is the verse, and this is also very important verse where you can memorize this verse. And this excludes, however, though he's mentioning about Shishupal and Kamsa, they are attaining liberation. Satrajit Prasena, Shatadhanva, Karna, Duryodhana, envious people to Krishna and his devotees, they did not have affection for Krishna. Because they did not have affection, though they have family relationships, anubandhena, right? Sneha sambandhena, that is what this verse is saying. They did not achieve Lord. That was a point. And this Vrishni is mentioned in this verse when are actually referring to inhabitants of Vrindavan. And Parjanya is a Vaishya wife from which the Vrishni dynasty also sorry, where even though Vrishnis refers to Dwarakavasis, if you take back Vrishnis dynasty, even Nanda Maharaj also comes in the Vrishnis dynasty through the Vaishya wife of Parjanya. So that's why this verse here is indicated. Vrishnis means actually inhabitants of Vrindavana. And the text 32 says, someone or somehow or other, Tasmad kenapi upayena mana Krishna niveshet, one who try to achieve the absorption in the Lord. However, whatever way is possible, if one does it by following the footsteps of Kamarupa Ragatmika Bhakti, like in the case of gopis, or Bhaya in the case of the Kamsa, or Dvesha in the case of Sishupala, Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika in the case of Vrishnis, and Vaidhi Bhakti in the case of Narada. Any of these 5 methods followed, success is guaranteed. The principle is complete absorption. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayat. Similar quote, what we have heard in Prabhupada's purports. Similarly, here it is said, Tasmad kenapi upayena mana Krishna niveshayat. So, verse number 33, Shishupal and Dantavakra were Jaya and Vijaya, who fell down due to curse. That is what is mentioned. The curse of Shishupal's hatred was curse, not that he is inherently hateful of Krishna, but because he came down to assist Krishna in his pastimes. This is the inner meaning of this, given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And text number 34, Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired, what kind of great curse could affect even a liberated Vishnu Bhaktas that they could fall down into material world? It looks to be impossible thing. I cannot believe it that Jaya and Vijaya, being direct associates of Lord, they could fall down. This is unbelievable. So for that, here, the bodies of inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual. This is another explanation. Continuing, as part of his question continuation, Yudhishthira is saying that bodies of Vaikuntha are made of, they are spiritual completely. They are not made of material bodies, senses, and life air. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of Lord came down to the material world. How did they fell down? And here Prabhupada says, any pastime conducted by a Supreme Personality of Godhead is arrangement made by Yoga Maya, not Mahamaya. Jaya Vijaya came because there was something to be done for Supreme Lord. Otherwise, it is not fact that no one falls. It is not a fact that one falls down from Vaikuntha. It's not a fact. So this is the explanation given. So in 36th verse, the great saint Narada said, once upon a time, in order to answer these questions of Yudhishthira Maharaj, how could Vaikuntha Vasis fall down to material world? He's saying, once upon a time, he started explaining with a story, a pastime. It's a historical incident, not a story. Sorry. Once upon a time, when the four sons of Lord Brahma, named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, were wandering throughout the three worlds, they came by chance to Vishnu Loka, and he stopped there. In the verse number 36. The further explanation we can hear from tomorrow's class. And thank you so much for taking part in today's Bhagavatam discussion, dear devotees. Gandraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.